One part of Morrow's philosophy to master planning is value. The true purpose of planning is to serve people and the land. Cities should be livable ecosystem that supports a community's culture while ensuring the land is sustainable and functional. Dr. Liu and Daniel, uh, we talk about governance. Yeah. How has the pandemic changed the way your firm implements governance? Yeah, Dr. Liu or Daniel, who would like to take the question?
So I think in terms of governance, I think we're just trying to. The pandemic has taught us to be a little bit more aware of what the market changes are in the world. Before the pandemic, I think we were very focused on our existing markets in China and some places in Southeast Asia. And what the pandemic taught us is that if there was a big event that we couldn't control, due to the pandemic, we weren't able to go to China for many years. And the key lesson to us is that we have to make sure that we don't have too much reliance on one market, so that if anything were to happen to that market, things can still continue from a business perspective. So I think that for us was the big sort of governance lesson for COVID. Making sure that we are a little bit more diversified going forward.
Yep. Thank you for that. Dr. Liu, would you have anything to add on to this? I mean, since you are big expert and lots of experience in this topic.
Well, my profession, as you know, I'm a planner and an architect, and we deal with hardware. So our job is really to create the hardware of a city or a building. So governance is more about the management of the community. So that's a fundamental difference. So as far as pandemic is concerned, actually, if we plan a city with the right kind of hardware, and I often tell people that city is made of steel and concrete. We should not really think in terms of planning a city and keep changing it with every change in the situation, because if that's the case, they have to keep tearing down old buildings and then replace them with new ones. Now that to me is ecologically very damaging and economically very damaging. So as a planner, as an architect, when we deal with the hardware, our main job is to find out what are the fundamental, unchangeable human needs. And then when you know those issues, then you create a hardware which will last for generations. And actually, that to me sounds like a very ambitious need, but actually it's not as horrible as you think, because cities are created to meet human needs, because human beings are social animals. And also, when we do business, we have to gather together to interact with each other. So cities is a creation as an answer to human needs. And therefore, even long before Industrial Revolution, we already had cities. And in fact, a lot of the old historical cities today are still very well occupied. That really gives us confidence that if you know the fundamental needs of the people and create a city to meet those needs, it will just last for generations. But at the same time, in the early days before the Industrial Revolution, the people did not have the means to destroy nature. So we built in harmony with nature. But nowadays, with technology, we can actually destroy nature at the whim of our idea, at the whim of a moment, we can do that. Therefore, I'm saying that urban planner must plan for people and the land. People means we must know the fundamental, unchanging need of the people living in the city. And the land, that means when you put the hardware on the land, you must respect nature. You must respect also historical buildings to retain the memory of the past. So if you plan a city this way, it really would weather through any kind of pandemic.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Liu. While still on governance, when we talk about succession planning, when it comes to succession planning, how do you mitigate the differences in mindsets and ideologies? You know, succession planning is so important in our society, lah. You know, handing down ideas and everything else. Yeah. So differences in mindsets and ideologies. Okay, there are two ways of looking at it. One is from, you know, the one handing down, the other one is the receiving. Yeah? So how do you mitigate the differences? Like the two of you, you know, you've got a firm together, but you're from different generations. So I mean, it's very interesting. It'll be very interesting. And this is one of my pet subjects because I took over a family business from my dad, and then I'm trying to figure out how to manage it such that the other people in the family don't get upset, you know, with how I manage it. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, for the two of you, how do you mitigate the differences in mindsets and ideologies?
Now, I would say that the main reason of my setting up the office is to pass down my planning theories, the architecture design theories and principles to my younger colleagues. In fact, although Morrow is only about 6 years old, but many of the colleagues started working with me 15, 16, 17 years earlier when we were all in the RSP. So, and even though my official title is a chairman, but when I have meetings with my colleagues, it's always like a tuition session. Every time we have a meeting to try to solve a problem, my approach is to explain to them how to solve the problem. It's like giving them a tuition so that I can impart as much as possible, unload as much as possible of what I know, so that they will then remember those principles and then continue to use it when I stop working. And these principles, again, I want to emphasize, are fundamental principles, not fashionable principles.
Understood. Daniel, how is it for you when it comes to succession planning, taking over a company, starting out with your own ideas, ideologies?
So I think for me, it's a bit different because I'm not a planner, I'm not an architect. My career started off, I was an auditor for almost a decade. And so when I joined the business, it was not to start a succession journey. It really was to help, get the firm off the ground in terms of developing some internal processes around the finance, around operations. But of course, as things go, one thing leads to another, and 5-6 years later, I'm still here. So that's how it is. I think succession planning is something that I think in terms of a family dynamic, it's a very difficult thing to approach, especially when you have a new firm. We're in a very unique situation. It's a new firm, a founder who is sort of a bit older than a normal founder, and a lot of very experienced team members. So my sort of approach has always been to be not think of it as like a family business where you hand down from one generation to the next, I think for us, our unique situation requires us to professionalize. So what we've done is rather than think about me sort of as taking over, it's about in each of the roles that are required, in the firm, operations, finance, etc. Who are the best fit, right? And we have people in different roles here who are professional managers. And I think in terms of the day-to-day running of the firm, we feel that is the best approach. Going forward after Dr. Liu is not around, I think we will continue to do it that way, where there is a separation between the business functions of the firm and the technical functions of the firm. So it allows the technical staff to be able to, within, of course, some boundaries, to do what they need to do, continue to develop very high quality levels of product. I think the thing that is very key for us is that, Dr. Liu is the chairman, and so he does set the vision, but his vision is very values-based. So when I say values-based, I mean, high quality of work, good deliverables. In fact, we do things that maybe other commercial organizations may not do in order to maintain and make sure that, the treatment of the land and things like that is perfect or better than anywhere else. So I think that those values are things that are very core to the firm. And so no matter how, succession, whatever happens, I think these are values that we will still try to hold on to. We don't need to make the most amount of money, because at the end of the day, we are professional experts. And so our job is to make sure that our clients, the governments we work with, get the best level of deliverables. And I think that is something the next generation is committed to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just add that in every organization, you need a management team. So Daniel, with his background in management and in finance, he's actually a very valuable member of our firm, and that frees other professional staff to just focus on the professional work. And actually, I want to just add that because many of the staff have been working for me for 15, 16, 17 years, and therefore they are already earning high respect in the profession. Many of them got invited to give talks and so on. And so I'm not too worried about succession, except that professional work, especially this kind of creative work, there's no boundaries. There's always something to share. So I'll try my best to just share as much as you can. But they themselves have already established recognition in the profession.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. Thank you, Daniel.